Senior Pentagon officials leaving work for Lockheed or Boeing, top lobbyists or executives from these companies coming into government to hand out contracts to their former employers. Real or perceived conflicts of interest undermine the public's confidence and can also lead to program delays or even cancellation.
And also, there are very, very long waits for tax refunds. Refunds on paper file returns, which the IRS usually pays to filers within 6 to 8 weeks in normal years, are taking 4 months or longer to be paid. The IRS says it will get through its backlog of unprocessed returns by year end. But this is not much relief to people who are still awaiting tax refunds on the 2020 returns that they filed months ago. And also, everybody, checks are going out via mail, but these are rebate checks. Indiana residents are still waiting on mail checks for their $125 automatic taxpayer refund, and they can receive them as early as next week if everything goes as planned. Now, a paper shortage though had delayed the checks by several weeks, and the checks will now include the original $125 taxpayer refund, as well as a $200 payment approved during this special session. Individual taxpayers will receive $325, while married couples filing jointly will get $650 checks. Combining the two amounts into one check will save the state more than $1 million in processing, printing, and postage fees. Now, the office is capable of printing up to 50,000 checks a day and hopes to start next week. The mailing process then takes 24 to 48 hours. The first checks could arrive as soon as Wednesday or Thursday of later this month, and the state aims to have all the checks printed in early October. Indiana residents who received their original taxpayer refund via direct deposit will get the new payment that way as well. The Department of Revenue is handling direct deposits, so Indiana residents who are eligible for the $200 payment but didn't file a tax return will have to wait to file taxes next year in order to receive it. The state is asking anyone with questions about their payments to wait until November 1st, now that the second payment is in the process of being sent.
So, Dr. Plum, you have been nominated to a top role in the part of the Pentagon that focuses on acquisition. Can you say a word about your views about why it is important that government officials making decisions about which defense contractors get taxpayer dollars must be free from conflicts of interest?
Senator, thank you, and thank you for your leadership on this issue. As you note, it is just so important at the department that our number one job is to deliver capabilities to the warfighter, and those capabilities need to be selected to get the best capabilities. And that means that conflict of interest, apparent or actual, can undermine, as you note, that trust, but also make it harder for key new ideas to break through and get into that process. We have a number of efforts underway, ethics agreements in this administration, improved oversight of our standards of conduct. If confirmed, I pledge to continue those, but also more to fulsomely work with you and this committee to make sure we're getting this balance right, getting the conflicts out.
Well, that's a really good point about how conflicts of interest can actually keep us from finding the best products, from innovating in the ways we need to innovate. A very strong point. So let's talk about the things we can do in order to reduce the conflicts of interest. Through the years, I have proposed a number of changes to strengthen our ethics laws. Now, some of my colleagues think that strong ethics requirements will stop people from wanting to go into government. There have been at least 10 government-funded studies now on this exact issue, how to improve the recruitment and retention of the federal workforce. And not a single one of them has concluded that ethics laws are the barrier. When we talked last week, you said that we need to consider both needing to attract and retain people who want to solve big problems and preventing the appearance of self-dealing. Dr. Plum, do you agree that we could strengthen ethics standards at the Pentagon?
Record amounts. And it's really that simple. But let me explain why this choice is so important. Let me start with the Putin price hike, high gas prices, and energy prices. My plan is already in motion. I led the world and other countries to join with us to coordinate the largest release of oil from our stockpiles of all the countries in history, 240 million barrels to boost global supply. Here at home, U.S. oil and gas production is approaching record levels. In fact, we produced more oil domestically in my first year in office than my predecessor did in his first year. To further drive down prices, my administration is allowing the sale of gasoline using homegrown biofuels this summer, which wasn't allowed before. And to reduce our dependence on foreign oil and reckless autocrats like Putin, I'm working with...
Across the United States, many drivers are dealing with historically high gas prices. Before the world crisis, fuel prices were already on the rise, and the crisis overseas has only pushed them up even further. To offset this, the impact of the gas shortage, President Biden announced that over the next 6 months, 1 million barrels of oil will be released from the nation's strategic reserves each day. At the state level, governments are proposing and passing legislation to provide direct relief to residents. These proposals vary widely from fuel tax holidays, like those seen in Connecticut, Georgia, and Maryland, to direct cash payments, like in New Mexico. Additionally, various states aiming to increase ridership on public transit systems have cut prices by up to 75% to give commuters more options that do not involve using their cars. Now, Connecticut is one of the 3 states to pass a bill eliminating state gasoline taxes to offset increased costs for consumers. The suspension will be in effect through June 30th, and lawmakers hope that this move is going to provide some relief to consumers as they face rising prices due to a number of international dynamics and market instability. In addition to the tax break, the state has also eliminated fares on public buses statewide during that same period. Connecticut's Finance Committee also took the credit in the first step toward creating a new state income tax credit for low and middle income families with children. The Democrat-controlled team has officially endorsed a bill that would immediately create a new $600 per child credit, but Representative Sean Scanlon, the committee's co-chair, said the proposal is going to provide to comply with federal restrictions on how much tax relief Connecticut can offer while it accepts the emergency federal crisis aid. State lawmakers are insisting that the legislature cut income taxes for the middle class this year in a different fashion by expanding from $200 to $300 a tax credit that offsets a portion of municipal property tax bills. The governor needs to do this. The governor has to do this to fill a promise that he made in 2018 when he campaigned for office. This relief will cost about $120 million per year, and the tax break for the working poor costs another $42 million. Like Connecticut, Maryland has also suspended state tax on gasoline. However, this tax holiday only lasts through April 18th, which is coming in a couple days. Now, when signing this bill into law, the governor, Larry Hogan, said this is of course not a cure-all, and market instability will continue to lead to fluctuations in prices. But we will continue to use every tool at our disposal to provide relief for Marylanders. Looking forward, Governor Hogan has said that he would like to see the state legislature eliminate the automatic gas tax increases that form part of Maryland's state tax law. In December 2021, Indiana's Governor Eric Holcomb had proposed that the eligibility requirements to receive a $125 payment be expanded to those without a reported income. Now, a bill to send these payments was passed earlier in the year,